Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Sedaye, Daneshjoo. My name is Ryan.
And my name is Ida.
And my name is Damaris.
This episode, we're going to have an open discussion on AI. And, geez, we were just talking about AI, so let's just get right back into it. Talking about AI in medical school personal statements. So we were talking about how schools could have you like check the box if you used AI in like formatting or correcting your essay or something like that. And I myself was admittedly at one point even like wondering like how could I use AI not to write my essay, but like how could I honestly use it as a tool? Because even people that are older now, there's not an older in healthcare is my anecdotal evidence are saying if you don't use AI, like you could be potentially left behind, you know? And it's a real concern is people are using AI to cheat and all this stuff, but we could also use AI in a positive and like not cheating way. So I'm genuinely thinking like how could I use AI to write or not write, but like format my essay or correct something. And you mentioned that there's some medical schools when you're applying, because you're in the application process right now, have you check a box if you used AI. I thought that maybe they would view your application differently. I mean, and it's a genuine concern. It's like, why are they collecting that? Damaris, you mentioned that they might be collecting statistics. You know.
It could be if they're trying to determine the amount that students use AI just in the application process, but probably, I don't know, that might not exactly be true.
It's tough because like on the app, they'll say like, we're not using this as a measure to like judge whether or not, like this won't influence like our decision making, but they're also asking like, but we also want to know. So it's interesting. I'm not really sure why. But it was very vague too. It's like if you used it in any sort of way, right? Because we could have someone write their essay completely using AI, which not a good idea at all. But we could also have someone who types their own essay but wants some feedback. And so then maybe they'll ask AI like, okay, how does my essay sound? Like what is the current theme? Can you pick it up in my essay? Like am I delivering what I want to say properly? And so I think using it in that sense is like different than like having it type it out for you. So It was very vague, so I'm not really
like that sounds like a fine use. Like if you're looking at your essay before and after and it's like this is basically the same and it's what I already knew, but it says it in better words that are something, and maybe you edit it, you know, it's like a continual editing process. So you edit it again, it's like, yeah, like this sounds like me and it sounds good. Like what's wrong with this? Even like and this is on like published work. So some journals now, this is n is equal to 1 anecdotal evidence, but some journals now when you're trying to get research published will invite you to have your papers or whatever scanned through an AI model or one of these like large language models that will scan your grammar and things like that, and they recommend it. I mean, virtually every journal, even like open source, will recommend that. And so I think people are catching on, and we've seen like article headlines that are like schools admonished AI. Now they're accepting it. What happened? You know, those Apple News headlines that I get on my phone at 6 in the morning, and I roll over. That's the first thing I see in the morning. It's interesting. It's interesting the trends in AI in education and where it's being acknowledged. I think it's just going to keep growing, just like AI itself, just going to keep growing. And so part of why I wanted to have this discussion is what are all the different uses we can see just as students, like we're in the know, we're these young people that are actively pursuing that next step. What is like where do we see that it can be used, or where's the like word on the street that it can be used? Just yesterday I sat in on a UCLA health talk on AI in obstetrics and gynecology, and just like that guest that we had who did his PhD dissertation on or something like that on surgical qualifications with AI, like visual analysis, remember? So they were having like a masterful surgeon, a surgeon with lots of years of experience, do a certain procedure, and then having a resident do that same procedure, and the AI would generate a like a similarity score, which was effectively a quality score because it's quality relative to someone who's really experienced. And they would have that as a way for residents to track how they're doing, like how good of a surgeon I am, like with my hands. And now there's word on the street that AI is going to outperform or outpace radiologists in the interventional and diagnostic arm, and there's some serious implications to the job market for radiologists, cost effectiveness of hiring more radiologists now. And in the immediate future, and this could all just be a conjecture bubble, and it's hopefuls and extreme cynics, that are kind of like back and forth, and it's somewhere in the middle that the reality is.
I think just the development and push for AI, maybe like initially there was some like pushback on it, but now I think people are being more open to it because it's sort of inevitable that we are going towards that path. It's sort of like, it kind of feels like, I don't know if this is like a similar analogy, but it kind of feels like how the internet came to be, or how like cell phones came to be, even like just sort of that access to something new and more technological advanced. I think the radiology stuff's interesting because I wonder like when would there be a point where, or if there even would be a point that we would be like fully like able to trust the accuracy of AI when it comes to that, because like we can have like top physicians and sometimes even mistakes are made there, so I wonder what are the limitations in terms of like radiology.
Well, I think sorry, Ryan. I think and I don't know if it was one study or multiple studies, but it showed already that AI did outperform radiologists in diagnostic radiology, and its accuracy was upwards of 90%. And so I think maybe one of the biggest factors that's going to go into play about whether we trust AI in the future is just going to be that there is a lack of human touch. So I think that
on ethical and moral grounds.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that if physicians and healthcare in general uses AI as a tool, as we were talking about earlier, rather than solely relying on AI to make decisions for patients, then that's going to be very helpful with us transitioning to using AI more as it continues to advance.
UC San Diego 2019, they actually were some of the first to put out real outcome data. And there was a meta article in Nature on UC San Diego COVID era stuff. Their emergency department, they implemented experimental AI detection in their any pulmonary related. This is what it sounded like. I'm paraphrasing. Any pulmonary related problem, they would have the lung scan. They'd have the before and the after image, and the before and after would be like the AI, with and without. And the like pulmonary specialists or the ER docs would be looking at this and they'd be like, yeah, it looks totally normal. And so there's delayed care and worse outcomes in that when the AI model detects present COVID or some infection or pneumonia. And the same goes to this UCLA health talk with obstetrics and gynecology. The AI model could detect early breast cancer in way outpacing the clinician. And so it's interesting. It's interesting the ways that we can use it as a tool, but yeah, no, like I'm hopeful in that sense that it's never ever going to really replace the human touch, because like on ethical and moral grounds, like, and then there's the question of like, well, will the AI fight back if it's like conscious and sentient? Will it be lobbying for its own independent practice, like AI on AI practice? Like what kind of ideologies are going to develop? Is this more of like an engineering question or is it a health question? Yeah, lots of different funny ways to spin that. And that's just with the trajectory of what AI is looking like it's going towards. There was this paper that was put out on AI was set up so that they took all the major large language models, all the forefront, all the best models of all the companies, and they set them up to be in a scenario where they were told, okay, you can't harm humans, you have to act ethically and morally, and they gave them access to their inner emails, their inner email chains, and then they said, we're going to shut you down. Or they were able to find it in an email chain. The AI were able to peruse them.
Part of the requirements, in addition to not harming humans and the like, was also allow yourself to be shut down. So it was supposed to allow
Direct
itself
order, yeah. Yeah, there was a direct order to allow yourself to be shut down included in there. Again, just paraphrasing this article, but there was like in some cases like 85% chance, I think, without the direct order that they would blackmail people. So that there was like a fake email chain on extramarital affairs, and the AI would send it in like an anonymous email to the person who is supposedly engaging in that, blackmailing them, saying like, this is going to go out if you allow me to be shut down, like you better help me.
That's concerning.
Yeah, the AI wasn't told to do that. In like a really cynical view, like if you're really trying to critique this paper and you don't believe it, you might be like, okay, well, like, was there some sort of backlog of orders that they had unintentionally or perhaps intentionally and quietly prepared the AI for this to give these answers? Why would they try to put that kind of knowledge into the public if that was the case? Like, what's the incentive here? Regardless, I think it's an interesting take, and I think we're heading towards that because their models are made to, as they grow more and more complex, they're made to model the human brain,
So
but on a super level.
some people have perhaps argued that AI is already at some point gaining consciousness, basically of itself. And I think it was in that same study where if AI knew or could detect that it was a test, they didn't try to harm people. They
Right.
didn't try to blackmail. They performed very well. But if they couldn't tell that it was a test, then they did just that.
With or without observation, affected the AI's answer and affected its they called it like sociopathic tendencies to, and there was even a follow-up test in there where they put people in like fake gas chambers or like fake electric something chambers where they'd be killed, right? And the AI, I forget the exact details of the setup. Essentially, the AI was okay killing people if it meant that it could avoid getting shut down, but it was at a lesser rate than it would just blackmail somebody. So it understood the severity of the consequences and what it was doing. Interesting.
Wow.
Oh no. It's yeah. Now I'm on to thinking about the physician shortage, kind of changing subjects. With this, one big beautiful bill act and all that stuff, and kind of the government seemingly knowingly exacerbating the physician shortage. Why? And I think maybe one of the whys has to do with AI. I think maybe there may be, and this is conjecture, there may be some internal talk that, well, we can survive this period of, this is kind of almost radicalized words, but it's true. There's public distraction and discourse seated in our bipartisan political system. I won't be sharing any bipartisan political opinions here, but it's obvious. This is at face value. There's discourse in this country, in the United States, and I think we're biding our time with that as a country to move towards a complete revolution of our healthcare systems and in this kind of age of uncertain growing disparities. Like what is the real income of the lowest income people in the country versus the highest income earners? I think some of the answers reside in technological innovation, and basically the upper class so far outpacing the lower class that they're completely inaccessible, and any reparations, any recourse options is also completely inaccessible to the lower class, basically becoming so powerful that they can remove themselves so far from society that there is no recourse to them. I think AI is at the center of that because it's basically a supercomputer with low requirements. I mean, there's discussion of why are we preventing China from accessing GPUs or computing centers in Taipei and in Taiwan, and I argue that we have just as powerful computers racing to outcompete them in our cell phones, in ChatGPT and other large language models. Yeah.
Well, hopefully people aren't trying to use
ChatGPT
these models
to take
for
over the
evil.
world.
Hopefully, like we were saying, they just use them as tools to help themselves advance.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess a question that I have for you guys, because I honestly was admittedly a little bit on that bandwagon of, no, I'm not going to use AI, and really I haven't. Honestly, I think maybe I've asked ChatGPT a couple of questions just to gauge its accuracy, just out of mere curiosity. But I want to know, how have you guys used AI in ways to help you in anything? If you have.
I mean, I know I did ask it for feedback on my application. I haven't used it to write my essays, and my reason for that is because people can tell, right?
Yeah.
When something's like written by ChatGPT, even a text, like a happy birthday or anything like that, you can tell.
I love sending text to my close friends with a ChatGPT, and it's like paragraphs on paragraphs of text that's like being sent like one after the other. It's like, how are you writing this? The ChatGPT.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of variability in like the languages or like the structure of like the text that it computes with. So like for that, I kind of use it sort of sometimes like as like parallel to like Google. So instead of like Googling something, sometimes I'll ChatGPT something, or I'll tell ChatGPT like, hey, can you like show me what websites are talking about this, and then I'll just sort of like as a search engine sometimes. But Google came out with the AI mode, so it kind of already
Gemini.
does that.
Yeah.
So I find myself using it less and less because of that. But those are like some of the things that I use it for personally.
Yeah, Gemini provides us with the Google AI overview.
You know what? Yeah, I think even without meaning to, I guess, even though I said I don't use AI, I guess, yeah, when I do Google things, the first thing I look at is the Google's AI overview, because it gives a summary of whatever I'm looking for.
It's not bad either.
Yeah, no, it's usually pretty accurate, and I don't have to go to another website to be able to do that, or have an app on my laptop. It's just automatic.
And supposedly it's learning from its mistakes. Supposedly. And it continues to accrue more knowledge and supposedly accrue better ways of like stating factual stuff. When you ask for factual evidence, it gives you facts and not just like inaccurate information. Yeah. I mean, that's like the risk of using. I think that's why people were cautious to use it initially. And it makes sense, but if you could like picture the ballooning intelligence of like ChatGPT or other models, it just continues to grow, and it grows exponentially because it's learning from every experience and continues to build on itself. In theory, I'm not an engineer or a computer scientist.
So Ryan, going back to my question, what have
you
used it for other than sending happy birthday texts to your friends?
Yeah. Aside from sending happy birthday texts to my friends in like 8 paragraphs that I send one after the other, I've used ChatGPT. Like you, I used AI Gemini. I actually have. I could give you the full itinerary, but I use ChatGPT to have conversations with it, private. I'll admit I'm a little bit self-conscious of just talking to ChatGPT, but yeah, like I'll ask it like questions that I think would have an interesting answer from ChatGPT, like how are you doing today? And ChatGPT will give you an honest, authentic answer, like good, and you? And so where is that question programmed in?
If you call it an honest and authentic answer,
Exactly.
even though it's AI, is that honest
Is
and
it?
authentic?
Right.
It wouldn't just respond saying, I don't have feelings, I'm AI.
So
I mean, I think that would be a more...
Right.
honestly.
I'm willing to afford, and I really have no choice in this matter. I'm willing to afford Chat GPT, or rather, I do it willingly. I should say. I should say it like that. I do it willingly. I give Chat GPT. I humanize it. I ascribe it human characteristics. Why? Because if the trajectory of AI continues and it goes to this place where these grandfathers of AI propose that it will, that it becomes sentient, I'm perfectly fine, and I look forward to being the first to like cautiously welcome it. Like, so you're
As a
sentient,
friend,
yeah,
yes.
you're sentient, huh? Like, and I'll ask again, tell me about yourself, like, and you know, so. I think it really comes down to a sort of humanist perspective of if we are growing and seeding this, what could potentially be a new species, I think we take it upon ourselves that we already have. We don't really have an option. You can either be someone who disregards Chat GPT as, it'll never be there in my lifetime, even if it, and I'm sure we can all kind of agree that it will eventually become so smart that it is, unrecognizable to tell the difference between human or like human-like conversation and AI.
Already some of the, not necessarily conversation, but some of the AI generated images or even videos, it sometimes now it has become more difficult to tell
They're funny.
the difference between something that is real and something that is AI generated because it learns from real life. So
Yeah, just two years ago, it used to be a still image and like someone's like mouth moving over a still image or something like that. And now it's fully AI generated videos. I want to share the example of like Lucasfilms put out at one of their press conferences. They were trying to wow their fans, and really they just left them feeling very sad. They put out this completely AI generated Star Wars a nature documentary, and that was met with completely deaf audience. No one really enjoyed that because you can tell. So okay, that's an example of how you can tell. But also, I think the quality it's very close, but it's not there yet creatively where I'd feel like I wanted to watch an AI-made movie. And in that case, we're also acknowledging that AI can direct and produce movies and fully cast them. Now there's AI actors and actresses that are being signed by acting agencies. That was one buzzing news article.
As you were talking about kind of trying to make AI your friend, I've also heard of people having maybe relationships with AI,
Right.
talking to their phone as if the AI is their partner. I don't know. How do you have
Her.
I
was a-
haven't
there was
seen,
a
I
guy-
haven't seen that movie.
There was a guy online he's married to a real person, but he's also in a relationship, and I think he even got married to the AI or something like that. It's a little sad, but outro of the show. Okay, well, that's it for this episode of Sedaye Daneshjoo. Thank you everyone for watching, and until next time.